First of all, you will have to know how to open Photoshop, although most likely during the exam, the application will already be open for you. But it's good to know that the Creative Cloud icon is what allows you to find all the Adobe applications. And then from here, you will be able to choose all the installed applications like Photoshop. And also you can update them if they are not up to date. If I go to the updates, I can see that the beta version of Photoshop, for instance, could be updated at the moment. But that's not the version we will be using for this course. So I will just open the normal Photoshop version and we will see the splash screen, which changes with each version. So your one might be slightly different depending on which version of Photoshop you are using. But you should see something similar welcome screen, where you will be able to choose from the following options here on the left: Home, Learn, Your Files, Shared with You, Lightroom Photos, and Deleted Files. Now, if you are on the Home tab, there's a couple of ways of starting a new document. You can click on Landscape or Social Story template files, or you can drag and drop an image here to open it in Photoshop. But most of the time, if you wanted to create a new document, you would just go to the New File option. So it's a big blue button here on the left. You can also find this option under the File menu. So choosing New here will lead to the same result. Or you can also press Command or Control N on the keyboard to get the same menu. The New Document dialog box has a lot of options on it. And if you want to have a full screen view of this, just double click on the top. That way you will be able to see all these presets, which are organized into different categories. So we have recent, we have photo, print, art and illustration, web, mobile, and film and video. In each of these categories, you will be able to start with a blank document preset, and the information is always displayed here. When you hover over them, you can also see the information displayed under them. But there's also these additional templates that are most of the time free to use. They just need to be downloaded. So if you want to start out with any of these, you can also click on them. So for instance, if you want a phone mockup for a social story design that you're working on, once you click on it, on the right side, you will be able to see the name of the template and all the additional information. And it's a quite big file, so it will take a while to download. But if we just want to see a larger preview, we can just click on that, and then we can see it right here. We can scroll down and up. And if we like it, we can just click on download. But instead of using this, I'm just going to go back and choose print as my category. And from here, I'm going to go with A4 as the size, which will automatically set not only the width and the height, but also the resolution required for print. The orientation can be changed with these icons, so landscape or portrait. You can also have multiple artboards within a Photoshop document, which you can turn on here. But compared to Illustrator, in Photoshop, you will only be able to create additional artboards once you are actually in the document view, not from the new document menu. I'm going to turn this off for now. And I just wanted to make sure that you remember the two values that you would normally see here. That's important in the exam because these can be questions. So 300 pixels per inch is the required size for print, while for screen, normally this would be 72 pixels per inch. Now, setting up the resolution in Photoshop, of course, is very important because it affects the total amount of pixels in your document. So even though the width and the height of the document stays the same, the amount of pixels will depend on the resolution. So just to demonstrate this to you, I can show the width and the height maybe in inches, and we can set this up to 8 by 10 just to keep it simple. And with this print size, with the current resolution, Photoshop would give us this amount of pixels. So this is a very low resolution image, only 720 pixels in height for this portrait format. But if I change back to inches and I set the resolution to 300, notice that again the width and the height didn't change, but if I switch to pixels, now we have a lot more pixels in this document. So it will be a much higher resolution image. Essentially, resolution means that for every inch we will have 300 pixels. And because the inches are set to be 10 for the height, that means 10 times 300, which is 3000 as we've seen it. The color mode can be adjusted here, and that's by default set to RGB. But for print, this again normally should be set to CMYK. Although this is something that can be adjusted later within the document or even when we are exporting the file. But it's important to learn and remember all the available options from here and also to understand what they are used for. So in a nutshell, CMYK is for print, RGB normally is for screen, and then grayscale is for monochromatic images with 256 shades of gray, while bitmap is literally just limited to having white and black pixels in them. When I choose this color mode, you can see that the bit depth reduces down to 1 bit, and a single bit can have 2 values, either black or white. While if I go up to grayscale, this changes to 8-bit. However, we can also increase the bit depth, which will give us even more variation or tonal range. And that, of course, also applies to RGB. Once again, can go up to 32 bits, or CMYK images can go up to 16-bit. In the exam, they most likely won't ask you more about bit depth, but it's worth knowing that 8-bit basically means 2 on the power of 8, which is 256 shades for each color channel. In this case, that's for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And in case of RGB color space, for instance, that means 2 on the power of 8 for each channel. And because we have 3 channels, it leads to around 16.5 million color variation. So even though this dropdown doesn't say it's bit depth or bit depth per channel, that's what it means. So it's worth just remembering that. Last but not least, we also have the background contents that can be set to white, black, background color, transparent, or custom. If you choose custom, you will get the color picker and you can pick any color from here. You can set the hue on the right side and the saturation and brightness on the left side. So if I choose any of these colors, we can see that showing up there on the right. But I'm just going to go back and set this to white, which is the default setting. There's an additional section here called Advanced Options, which might be closed for you. If you want to see it, just open it up, and it holds the color profile and pixel aspect ratio options. In the exam, most likely they won't ask you about these. Again, worth just having a look at this list that by default, I believe it's going to be set to working RGB, or it can be set to don't color manage the document. And again, the default setting for the pixel aspect ratio would be square pixels, but for certain video formats, this would already change to one of these other options here. And once you have everything set up, the last thing to do is simply click on Create, and that should open up this new document in Photoshop. I'm just getting a default message here. I'm going to turn that off. And yeah, so this is our new document that we created. We can see that it is RGB color mode, 8-bit depth. And the bottom left, which is called the status bar, we can also see the pixel size and the resolution. This, by the way, can be changed to any other options here. I'm just going to keep it on document dimensions. And then the 25% in this document tab means the zoom ratio. If I want to zoom in all the way, I can press Command 1 on the keyboard. You can see now it's set to 100%. Or if I press Command 0 or Control 0, that's going to fit the document to the screen, which in my case leads to 31% zoom ratio. Now, there's one last thing worth mentioning, and that is in Photoshop, you can still access the legacy new window menu. And to be able to get to this, you would have to go to the Preferences, which you will find under the Photoshop menu on a Mac or the Edit menu on PC. And then once you go to Settings, you just have to choose General. You can also remember the shortcut for the settings or preferences. It's Command or Control K. So once we go there, we will be able to find the Use Legacy New Document Interface option here. So once that is selected, we can click OK, and we can try File New to open it. And so this is how it looks. It's much simpler, but essentially has the same settings that we've seen in the newer interface. Instead of seeing all the presets on the left side, we can still choose the document type to be, for instance, film and video, and then the presets that we've seen again before on the left side in thumbnails or icon format are still available to choose from, but in this case it will be listed in this drop down menu. So I can choose maybe one of these, and then obviously all the settings will update according to this. If I click OK, this new document is created for us, but let's not forget that from the settings, as long as we have this option turned on, we will be using the legacy interface. I'm going to take that off, and if I create a new document now, we are back to the new interface with the previews here on the left side and the settings on the right.